Timetable example. Step 1. The first step that needs to be completed is the school information. The general school information needs to be populated first. Left-click on the school information menu item. Type in the school name. For this example, the school name is Demo School. The days per cycle is by default set to 5 and the periods per day are by default set to 10. For this example, the days per cycle are 6. Left-click on the up arrow to increase the number of days to 6. For this example, the periods per day are 11. Left-click on the up arrow to increase the number of periods to 11. There are 2 breaks, period 4 and period 9. Change the default descriptions for period 4 and 9 to break. The default values for the spread allocation are not changed. A school logo should be uploaded. The general comments that should be printed on the timetable reports must be entered. Save the school information changes by left-clicking on the Save button. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 2. The second step that needs to be completed is the buildings and rooms. Left-click on the buildings and rooms menu item. Left-click on the Add Building button. For this example, Building A is added. Add building code and description. Left-click on the Save button to create the building. Create 2 rooms for the building. Left-click on the Add Room button. Add a science lab for grade 7, S, L, A, B, 7. Left-click on the Save button to create the room. Add a science lab for grade 8, S, L, A, B, 8. Left-click on the Add Room button. Left-click on the Save button to create the room. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 3. The third step that needs to be completed is the grades and classes. For this example, there are 2 grades, grade 7 and grade 8. Each of the grades has 5 classes, class 7, A2E and class 8, A2E. Left-click on the Grades and Classes menu item. The grades are by default populated from grade 1 to grade 12. For this example, the classes for the 2 grades are imported, making use of the import function. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Left-click on the Management menu item. Left-click on the Import and Export menu item. Select the class's dataset by left-clicking on it. Left-click on the Import button. The file selection dialog box is displayed. Browse to the location where the CSV file is located. Select the file by left-clicking on it. To import the dataset, left-click on the Open button. As can be seen, 10 classes were imported. Return to the Management page by left-clicking on the Management page icon. Return to the Home page by left-clicking on the Home page icon. Select the Grades and Classes menu item. As can be seen, 10 classes were imported. Return to the Home page by left-clicking on the Home page icon. Step 4. The fourth step that needs to be completed is Subjects. Left-click on the Subjects menu item. The subjects are by default populated with a general subject list containing 23 subjects. The information panel is resized by left-clicking on the handle and then dragging it to the right. By doing this, the 2 grades that were created making use of the grades and classes menu item, are displayed. 3 subjects need to be added. 1. Information skills. 2. Social science, geography. 3. Social science, history. Left-click on the Add New button. Enter the short code and description for the subject. Select the color associated with the subject. Add the subject by left-clicking on the Save button. Add the remaining 2 subjects in the same manner. The subjects must now be allocated to the grades. This is done by left-clicking on the applicable checkbox. Arts and culture are taught to both grade 7 and grade 8. Left-click on the corresponding checkboxes to allocate the subject to grade 7 and grade 8. This process is repeated until all subjects have been allocated. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 5. The 5th step that needs to be completed is educators. For this example, the educators are imported, making use of the import function. Left-click on the management menu item. Left-click on the import and export menu item. As can be seen, the record count indicator indicates that at present there are 0 educators registered in the system. Select the educators dataset by left-clicking on it. Left-click on the Import button. The file selection dialog box is displayed. Browse to the location where the CSV file is located. Select the file by left-clicking on it. To import the dataset, left-click on the Open button. As can be seen, 16 educators' records were imported. Return to the Management page by left-clicking on the Management page icon. Return to the Home page by left-clicking on the Home page icon. Select the Educators menu item. As can be seen, 16 educators were imported. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 6. The 6th step that needs to be completed is general school breaks and fixed periods. Setting up the general breaks and register periods for the school. The first break is period 4 for all 6 days for the school. The second break is period 9 for all 6 days for the school. There is a general register period set for period 8 for all 6 days for the school. Left-click on the Timetable menu item. A pre-populated list of general activities is displayed. Should a general activity be required, which is not in the list, make use of the Add function to add the activity. The breaks for period 4 are added first. Select the break activity by left-clicking on it. Move the cursor to the 4th period. Left-click on period 4, day 1. When this is done, the break activity is displayed. Move to day 2, period 4, and left-click on the period. Repeat this for days 3 through to 6. When this is done, left-click on the Save button. Acknowledge the Save notification by left-clicking on the OK button. The breaks for period 9 need to be allocated. Use the scroll bar to locate period 9. Select the break activity from the activity list by left-clicking on it. Allocate the break activity to all 6 periods by left-clicking on each of the 6 periods. When this is done, left-click on the Save button. Acknowledge the Save notification by left-clicking on the OK button. The register period for period 8 needs to be allocated. Select the register activity from the activity list by left-clicking on it. Allocate the register period activity to all 6 periods by left-clicking on each of the periods. When this is done, left-click on the Save button. Acknowledge the Save notification by left-clicking on the OK button. The fixed periods for the educators need to be allocated. Left-click on the Educators button. The Educators timetable is displayed. The general activities that were allocated for the school are displayed. The level on which the activities were created is displayed, in this case school level. Should the user want to remove one of the general activities, it needs to be done on the level where it was allocated, in this case the school level. The first fixed period allocation that needs to be done is for Mr. B. Elliot. Left-click on the Educator list box. The list of educators that were registered in the system is displayed. Select Mr. B. Elliot by left-clicking on his name in the list. When this is done, the educator's name is displayed. The admin period for this educator is day 3 period 2. There is not an admin activity available in the activity list. Add an admin activity by left-clicking on the Add button. Type the activity name, in this case admin, and press the Enter key to create the activity. Select the admin activity by left-clicking on it. Left-click on period 2, day 3, to allocate the admin activity. Select Mr. J. Theron by left-clicking on his name in the list. When this is done, the educator's name is displayed. The admin period for this educator is day 3, period 2. Select the admin activity by left-clicking on it. Left-click on period 2, day 3, to allocate the admin activity. Continue with this process until all fixed admin periods have been allocated for all educators. When this is done, left-click on the Save button. Acknowledge the Save notification by left-clicking on the OK button. Return to the school timetable by left-clicking on the School Timetable button. There are periods marked in green and in red. The periods that are green are available for period activity allocations. Periods that are marked red are not available for activity allocations. Red implies that an activity has already been allocated to this period. When moving the mouse cursor over the period that is red, the following message is displayed. In use by existing break. Period 2, day 3, has been allocated. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 7. The 7th step that needs to be completed is Allocations. Select the Allocations menu item by left-clicking on the menu item. The grade list box is populated with the grades that were created making use of the Grades and Classes menu item. For this example, the allocations for grade 7 are done. Left-click on the grades list box. 2 grades are displayed, grade 7 and grade 8. For this example, allocations are done for grade 7. Select grade 7 by left-clicking on it. The subjects that were linked to grade 7 are displayed. Due to the current screen resolution, the classes associated with grade 7 are not displayed. To display the classes, move the Educator panel and the Information panel to a location at the bottom of the screen. This is done by left-clicking on the Educator panel and holding in the mouse button. Drag the Educator panel to the bottom of the page. This system gives an indication of a valid placement position for the panel. Release the mouse button. Repeat the same procedure to move the information panel to the bottom of the page. When this is done, the classes associated with grade 7 are displayed. Resize the Educator panel by left-clicking on the resize handle and then dragging it upwards. For this example, the allocation for natural science is done. The allocation for natural sciences is done as follows. Enter the number of periods for the subject, in this case, 6. Press the Enter key to accept this. The default split that is populated is 6 single periods. The split should consist of 2 double periods and 2 single periods. Change the default split to 2 double and 2 single periods by left-clicking on the plus sign in the split box. Left-click on the plus sign for a second time. Should the educator prefer a specific spread, the spread can be changed from any to early, mid, or late by left-clicking on the plus or minus signs in the spread box. Change the spread to early. This is done by left-clicking on the plus sign in the spread box. The educator that teaches natural sciences for grade 7A to 7D is Mrs. I. Davis, and for grade 7E, Miss C. Baker. Select Mrs. I. Davis by left-clicking on her name in the educator list box and holding down the mouse button. Drag the educator to the default educator position. Release the mouse button. By doing this, Mrs. Davis is automatically allocated to all the grade 7 classes. The grade 7E class should be taught by Miss C. Baker. Locate class 7E by making use of the scroll bar. Left-click on the educator shortcode. Press the delete key to remove Mrs. Davis. Select Miss Baker from the educator list by left-clicking on her name. Hold down the mouse button. Drag the educator to the class 7E position. Release the mouse button. Miss Baker is now allocated to class 7E. The classes should attend the double periods in Room S Lab 7 that was created making use of the Buildings and Rooms menu item. Left-click on the expand indicator to the left of the Natural Sciences subject. When this is done, the split activities are displayed. Left-click on the Rooms list box next to the first double period. Select the S Lab 7 room by left-clicking on it. Allocate the same room to the second double period. When the timetable is generated, the S Lab 7 room will be allocated to the Natural Sciences double periods. When the allocation has been completed, the following can be seen. 6 periods have been allocated to natural sciences. The utilization percentages for Mrs. Davis and Miss Baker have been updated. Total utilization for educators and rooms have been updated. The utilization and allocation percentages can be changed to display the number of periods that have been allocated. This is done by left-clicking on the percentages button. When this is done, the amount of periods allocated is displayed. When the allocations have been completed, the following can be seen. The allocation percentages for educators and for classes. The allocation percentages can be changed to display the number of periods that have been allocated. Left-click on the percentages button. The number of periods allocated are displayed. As can be seen, the number of periods that are allocated exceed the number of available periods. The Save Changes button also turned red and is not available for saving changes. The allocations have not been completed as a subject group and 2 class groups still need to be created. A subject group for Sur2 and Zulu needs to be created. This is done by left-clicking on Zulu. Press and hold the Control button. Left-click on the SUA2 subject. The Subject Group button is now active. Left-click on this Group button. The system gives an indication that a first group was created and the number 1 is displayed next to the subjects in the group. 2 class groups need to be created, one for 7A and 7B and the second one for 7C and 7D for SUA2 and Zulu. Left-click on class 7A for the subject, SUA2. Press and hold the Control button. Left-click on class 7B for subject, SUA2. The class group button is now active. Left-click on the class group button. The system gives an indication that a first class group was created and the number 1 is displayed next to the classes in the group. The second class group is created in the same manner. The system gives an indication that a second class group was created and the number 2 is displayed next to the classes in the group. The Save button is now available for saving allocation changes. This gives an indication that the allocations are now within allocation limits, and the educators are not overutilized. The period allocation percentages are 100% and all the teacher utilizations are 100% or less. When changing the percentages to periods, by left-clicking on the Percentages button, the following can be seen. The number of periods allocated is equal to the number of available periods. Not one of the teachers has more periods allocated to them than is available. The allocations for grade 8 are completed in the same manner. Save the allocation changes by left-clicking on the Save button. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 8. The 8th step that needs to be completed is the timetable generation. Left-click on the Timetable menu item. Left-click on the Generate button to create the timetable. The progress bar gives an indication of the processing percentage. When the timetable generation has been completed, the timetable screen is displayed. There are 5 different types of timetables that can be displayed. 1. School timetable. 2. Grades timetables. 3. Classes timetables. 4. Educators timetables. 5. Rooms timetables. To view a specific class's timetable, left-click on the Classes button. The timetable for grade 7A is displayed. To view any of the other classes' timetable, left-click on the Grade List box. A list of the classes that were created making use of the Grades and Classes menu item is displayed. Select the class by left-clicking on a class in the list. For this example, grade 7B is selected. To view a specific educator's timetable, left-click on the Educators button. The timetable for the first educator in the list is displayed. In this case, Ms. C. Baker. To view any of the other educators' timetable, left-click on the Educator List box. A list of all educators that was created making use of the Educators menu item is displayed. Select the educator by left-clicking on the educator in the list. For this example, B. Elliot is selected. To view a specific room's timetable, left-click on the Rooms button. The timetable for the first room in the list is displayed, in this case Science Lab, grade 7. To view any of the other rooms' timetable, left-click on the Rooms List box. A list of all of the rooms that were created making use of the Buildings and Rooms menu item is displayed. Should the timetable layout not be acceptable, the user can generate a new timetable by left-clicking on the Generate button for a second time. The user can lock periods before the timetable is regenerated. For this example, the double period for math is locked. Right-click on one of the math periods. A pop-up menu is displayed. Select the lock item by left-clicking on it. Two locks are displayed, indicating that these periods are locked in this position. When the timetable is regenerated, these periods will not be moved. The timetable can be cleared. Left-click on the Clear button. All activities are cleared, except for activities that were locked. All activities that were removed from the timetable are now displayed in the Subject Activities list. Subject activities can be placed manually on the timetable. For this example, subjects for B, Elliot, are placed manually. Left-click on the Educators button. Select B, Elliot, from the Educator list by left-clicking on the name in the list. The subjects that were allocated to B. Elliot during the allocation process are available in the Subject Activity list. For this example, the double period for Economic and Management Sciences for Grade 7B is placed manually. Left-click on the subject activity in the list. The system gives an indication where this activity can be placed. Activities marked in green are options for placing the activity. That the positions where this activity cannot be placed are marked in red. When the mouse cursor is moved over the activity positions that are not available, the system gives an indication of why these positions are not available. The system indicates that the available time slot is too small. For this example, a double period needs to be placed. A double period cannot be placed in a single period's time slot. Left-click on a valid position in the timetable. When this is done, the subject is placed in this position. Take note that manual placed subjects are automatically locked. The timetable that is viewed can be printed from this page by left-clicking on the Print button. Should the user left-click on the Print button in the current view, the timetable for B. Elliot is printed. The X and Y axis of the timetable can be rotated by left-clicking on the Rotate button. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon. Step 9. The ninth step is the report generation. Reports are printed by left-clicking on the reporting menu item. There are 3 reporting categories: 1. Setup reports, 2. Utilization reports, and 3. Timetable reports. The different report options for each of the 3 categories can be displayed by left-clicking on the Indicate to the left of the report category. Setup reports. This report option is used to create reports for the setup information that was entered for educators, classes, subjects, buildings and rooms. There are 5 different reports that can be printed. Utilization reports. This report option is used to create reports which reflect the utilizations of educators and rooms, as well as the percentages for subject allocations per educator and per grade. There are 4 different reports which can be printed. Timetable reports. This report option is used to create timetable reports for the general school setup, educators, rooms, classes, grades, etc. There are 8 different reports which can be printed. Return to the home page by left-clicking on the home page icon.